Welcome to the deep dive. If you've got a cat, two things are true. They're incredibly curious,
Oh, absolutely.
and they seem to have, well, zero instinct for self-preservation sometimes.
Yeah. That curiosity, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Really. And it puts them right in the line of fire for, tiny venomous things hiding out in the garden or even inside the house sometimes.
Exactly. Cats are predators, right? So they investigate low to the ground, sniffing, pawing at bugs. And that means their face, their paws, the most vulnerable spots, they often make first contact.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to dive into the vet references, the source of materials,
Yep.
and give you the shortcut, a really solid guide to the specific risks, the symptoms, knowing what's minor versus what's deadly,
Crucial distinction.
and the immediate, must-do treatment steps.
Yeah, with venom, you really need to be prepared because the reaction, it can be anything from just painful swelling locally
Right.
to full-on systemic shock. It can be fatal. So we need to break down these threats properly.
Okay.
And maybe we should start with the ones you're most likely to run into, the common insects.
Good plan. Let's start there. The usual suspects.
Mhm.
Bees, wasps, yellow jackets, even fire ants.
Mhm.
If a cat tangles with one of these, what's the immediate picture?
Okay, so mostly you're looking at painful swelling right where the sting happened.
Makes sense.
And because the cat was probably poking at it, yeah, it's usually going to be one paw, maybe somewhere on the face or muzzle. Looks nasty often, but usually manageable.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the game changes if the cat gets multiple stings, like if it wanders into a nest or something.
Okay, that definitely raises the stakes. If they get hit multiple times, absorbing all that toxin at once, what's the risk beyond just local pain?
Well, now the risk shifts completely. It becomes
Right.
systemic. You've basically overloaded the cat's system with the toxins.
Right.
And the cat can actually go into shock from that. It is serious, definitely, but still different from the most severe reaction.
Which is anaphylaxis.
Exactly. Anaphylactic shock. That's the big one,
Okay.
the severe hypersensitivity reaction.
Can you clarify that difference? Why is anaphylaxis so much worse?
Sure. Anaphylaxis is a flat-out medical emergency. But, crucially, it typically only happens if the cat's been exposed before to that specific venom.
Oh, like a previous sting.
Yeah, maybe it got stung by a bee last summer,
Right.
and it developed a severe allergy. So the second time, the body just goes haywire, overreacts violently.
Got it.
So the key takeaway here is kind of a three-step escalation, A common sting means local pain.
Okay.
Multiple stings, now you're worried about systemic shock from the toxin load
All right.
and prior exposure. That's where the risk of deadly anaphylaxis comes in. You really got to know which situation you're dealing with.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, let's pivot then, away from the common nuisance stings to the creatures whose venom is just, highly toxic to cats pretty much across the board.
Yeah.
Often doesn't matter if they've been exposed before.
Yeah.
Let's talk deadly spiders.
Indeed. And we really need to zone in on two main threats here, the black widow and the brown recluse.
Okay, black widow first. Sounds bad.
It is a massive concern for cats. Its venom is a powerful neurotoxin.
Meaning it attacks the nervous system.
Precisely.
So what are the signs? What should you look for with a black widow bite?
Well, initially, maybe just sharp, immediate pain right at the bite site. You might not even see much else at first.
Okay.
But because that venom goes after the nerve so quickly, the cat will pretty soon become really excitable, agitated. And then that's followed by severe systemic stuff.
Right.
Chills, fever, breathing becomes difficult, labored.
And this is where it gets really critical, is it? Because the prognosis, the source material says it's generally poor for cats.
Yeah.
Is there a specific symptom that screams the neurotoxin is taking over?
Yes, early paralysis. That's the distinct, really terrifying sign of black widow envenomation.
Wow.
And from there, it can progress quickly to shock, seizures. The mortality rate is, frankly, tragically high.
Speed is everything.
Absolutely. When a neurotoxin is hitting the central nervous system that hard, how fast you get antivenin from a vet.
Yeah.
That pretty much determines the outcome. It's a real race against the clock.
Okay. Wow. That really highlights how important just watching your cat closely is.
Yeah.
So if the black widow is neurotoxicity
Yeah.
and paralysis, the brown recluse is known for something totally different, right?
Yeah.
Necrosis.
Exactly. Tissue damage, that's the brown recluse's signature. And unlike the black widow, the recluse can show up in two pretty different ways. We call them syndrome.
Two syndromes, okay.
Yeah. The most common one is the cutaneous form, meaning it affects the skin.
Cutaneous. So what visual signs are we looking for there if we suspect a brown recluse bite on the skin?
You need to be watching for the bullseye lesion. That's the classic sign.
Bullseye? Like on a target?
Kind of, yeah. It starts off maybe just a blister, some pain,
Okay.
but then it develops this pattern, a pale center, surrounded by a distinct red ring.
Okay.
And seeing that pattern, that's the signal that tissue death necrosis has started.
And necrosis. That doesn't just heal up like a normal scrape, does it?
No, absolutely not. The skin involved will actually die and eventually slough off, leaving this nasty ulcerated wound.
Whoa.
And we're not talking about something that clears up in a week. This kind of wound can take months to heal properly, needs a lot of vet care to manage it, prevent infection.
Months. Wow. Okay. And the second form,
Mhm.
the visceral one, you said it's rare.
Much rarer, thankfully, but far more devastating.
How does that one present?
That's when the toxin doesn't just stay in the skin, it goes systemic, hits the organs.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So instead of just skin damage, you see generalized sickness like
Oh.
fever, the cat's joints might be really painful, often vomiting, maybe even seizures.
So much more serious internal.
Way more serious
Yeah.
because the venom can cause severe blood problems, kidney failure. This visceral form is often fatal. Similar outcome to the Black Widow, just a different mechanism.
Yeah, that's a huge difference to understand. One attacks the nerves, causes paralysis. The other destroys tissue, potentially organs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we move off spiders completely, tarantulas. People
Yeah.
get scared of them because they're big and hairy, but are they actually as dangerous to a cat as a black widow?
Well, fortunately, no, not usually. The bite itself, generally not serious or life-threatening for a cat.
Okay, good.
However, the real issue with tarantulas isn't so much the bite, it's their defensive hairs.
Hairs.
Yeah, they have these tiny barbed hairs on their abdomen. If they feel threatened, they can flick these hairs off.
And those are bad.
Oh, yeah. They're intensely irritating. If a cat gets those hairs in its eyes, nose, mouth, even just on its paws, they can cause really significant painful inflammation, skin, mucous membranes. It's more like an extreme physical irritant than a systemic poison.
Okay, so tarantulas are more about irritation than venom toxicity. Good to know. All right, let's broaden out a bit. Regional threats. What about things like centipedes and scorpions? Are they in the same danger category as the black widow?
They typically cause a strong local reaction, definitely. Pain, swelling. Sometimes they can cause systemic illness, and the bite wounds tend to heal pretty slowly.
Okay.
But when we talk about scorpions specifically, there's a really important geographical point here for listeners.
Oh. What's the key location factor?
Basically, if you live outside of southern Arizona, you can pretty much take deadly scorpion encounters off your worry list.
Really? Only southern Arizona?
According to the veterinary sources, yeah.
Yeah.
The poisonous scorpions, the couple of species that can actually cause severe systemic illness in pets, are found only in that specific region of the U.S.
Wow. That's actually a huge relief for a lot of people listening, I bet.
It's important context, right? Helps you realistically assess your cat's risk.
Definitely. Now, one factor that seems universal, regardless of what bit or stung the cat, bee, spider, scorpion, is size, right? The size of the cat itself.
Oh, absolutely critical. Think of it like dosage concentration. A young kitten, or even just a naturally small or slender adult cat, they're at much greater risk. Why? Because the same amount of venom represents a much higher concentration relative to their small body weight.
So what might just cause some bad local pain in a big, robust cat?
Could easily be lethal for a tiny kitten. The toxin's effect is just amplified.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Okay.
So understanding the threats, the different reactions, that's half the battle. Now we need the action plan, the immediate, what do I do? Let's say you find your cat, you suspect it's been stung or bitten. Walk us through the first steps, the home care stuff.
Okay, first things first. Try to identify what did it, if you can do it safely, obviously.
Why is that important?
Because telling the vet it was a bee versus I think it was a spider makes a huge difference in their approach. Second, deal with the stinger, if there is one.
And only bees leave stingers, right?
Correct. Wasps, hornets, spiders, they don't leave anything behind. Just bees.
So how do you get a bee stinger out properly without making it worse?
Right, you don't want to squeeze it. The old advice is still the best. Use tweezers carefully at the base, or even better, scrape it out sideways, like with the edge of a credit card or something similar.
Need it. Don't squeeze. Got it.
Exactly. Squeezing the venom sac that's attached just injects more venom.
Okay, stinger out if it was a bee. What's next? Immediate topical treatment.
Yep. Make a simple paste, baking soda, and a little water. Apply that right to the sting site. It helps neutralize some of the venom's acidity.
Baking soda paste, okay.
Then cold compress, an ice pack wrapped in a thin towel. Put that on the area to help with the swelling and the pain.
What about things like calamine lotion or Cortade? We use those for itchy bites. Can we use them on cats?
Yes, you can use those to help with the itching, but, and this is a big, there is a absolutely non-negotiable step if you do. You have to cover the area. Either a loose bandage or maybe an e-collar, you know, the cone of shame.
Why? To stop them licking it.
Precisely. If you don't cover it, the cat will immediately leak that lotion or cream right off, and they could ingest stuff that's not good for them. So the bandage or cone is basically part of the application process itself.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've done the home care steps. Stinger out, baking soda, maybe some calamine under a bandage. When does this switch from manage at home to get to the vet right now? What are those critical emergency signs? Signs of generalized toxicity or anaphylaxis?
Okay, this is the list everyone needs to know. If you see any of these, you stop everything else and you drive immediately to the nearest emergency vet clinic. Got it.
Ready.
Restlessness, agitation, excessive scratching, especially at the face, drooling, vomiting, diarrhea, difficulty breathing, any labored breathing at all, collapse, obviously, or seizures.
Okay, that's a serious list. Restlessness, face scratching, drooling, vomiting, diarrhea, trouble breathing, collapse, seizures. Any of those means immediate vet.
Correct. Any sign like that means the reaction has gone systemic and it needs professional medical intervention fast.
That list needs to be like on the fridge door. Okay, finally, let's talk being prepared, especially for owners who know their cat reacts badly. Maybe they've had a scare before. What's the proactive chat to have with the vet about managing potential anaphylaxis?
Yeah, that's a really important conversation. They should definitely discuss keeping an injectable epinephrine kit at home.
Well,
Often called an EpiPen, though there are other brands.
epinephrine, that's the main treatment for
That's
anaphylaxis.
the critical countermeasure, yeah. Anaphylactic shock can swell the airway shut incredibly quickly. Sometimes in minutes, epinephrine can reverse that.
Life-saving stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a catch with keeping it on hand, isn't there? Something about practicality.
There is, and it's a big one. Epinephrine has a really short expiration date,
Yeah.
much shorter than most other pet meds you might have.
Ah, so it goes bad quickly.
Exactly. So if you do have an EpiPen kit for your cat, you can't just toss it in a drawer and forget it. You absolutely must have a system, maybe a calendar reminder, whatever works, to check that expiration date regularly. Monthly, maybe.
Because an expired EpiPen.
Is useless when you desperately need it. That's the crucial logistical point.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. Synthesize the key points. We've gone from, a simple bee sting all the way to potentially fatal spider bites. What's the single most important thing for a listener to take away from all this?
I think it's the ability to differentiate the threat based on those specific signs we talked about. Knowing that a bullseye lesion means brown recluse means potentially months of wound care.
Right.
Or that sudden paralysis means likely black widow, means antivenin, means get to the vet now. Recognizing those specific symptom pairings is probably your most powerful tool.
And for the more common stings.
For those, it's knowing the correct immediate actions, like how to properly remove a stinger scrape, don't squeeze, and critically, memorizing that list of emergency symptoms that signal a systemic reaction where home care stops and emergency transport begins.
Absolutely. It's about specific knowledge, not just general panic. Knowing what symptom means what action is needed.
Exactly. And, that brings us to a final thought, something for you to maybe chew on, thinking more about the logistics side.
Okay.
We've talked about how vital emergency drugs like injectable epinephrine can be, right? But given that these kits, especially for pet use, have such short shelf lives, how does that practical need, the constant monitoring, the cost of replacing an expensive medication frequently, how does that actually impact a pet owner's preparedness plan, especially if they live somewhere with a high risk of these severe reactions? It really demands a different level of commitment, doesn't it? A kind of year-round vigilance, focusing on the medical logistics, not just the immediate first aid. Something to consider.